time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Well, 12:02. What's going on, everybody? Nielson, Kassian, Gage with you on Two Guys and a Goalie. Lots to get to around the National Hockey League. Lots to get to on the Oilers and Blues from last night. Big week here. Dallas and Colorado still looming for the Edmonton Oilers as well. If you are listening on TuneIn, on iHeart, or on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, you can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously, hammer a thumbs up. Give us a like if you wouldn't mind, and make sure you sub to the channel if you haven't already. And your thoughts on everything, your comments over there on the Nasty Chat as well. This is a Ricky Stanicki show today on Two Guys and a Goalie. Cass, have you watched Ricky Stanicki yet? Because Gage and I both give it two thumbs up.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but I might have to now that you guys are throwing that. I like comedies and I like laughing. So
if you just need to like disconnect, have some laughs, Gager, it checks the boxes, does it not?
Yeah, and I was quite disappointed with one T. Gazzola today.
I know.
Saying that
he didn't like it?
He didn't. Yeah, for some reason he didn't like it. Maybe
maybe it's too childish for him.
Maybe. He lives like a child. Come on. He should be right up his alley. But no, I was shocked that he said that. And he referenced, I think, like Arrested Development and things, and like it's kind of the same humor, which I found odd. But anyways, whatever. John Cena, fantastic in it. Was hilarious.
He was great. I mean, he was probably the best part of it. I liked. Yeah, it was good. It was a good feel good comedy that in fact, I'll say this: there was a little bit of a twist at the end too. I didn't see the end coming, which you don't get very often in like a ridiculous comedy. No, I don't think you. Well, you, Cash, you're big on storylines, the rom-com side of things, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
obviously that movie, I haven't seen it, but I can tell you without question it's a rom-com. So,
yeah, I mean, Gage, you're kind of fits that bill.
Friends, the love of friends with one another, and it's a comedy. Yeah. So totally.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't. I'm trying to think of a movie that kind of compares to it, like the same what happened, and you haven't seen something like this in a while. Just the way it all transpires. So I like the story. It was great.
You think there's a sequel somewhere, Gager, if it does well?
Well, yeah, I could more so with what's that movie with Wahlberg and Will Ferrell where they're
Daddy's Home?
Daddy's Home. Daddy's Home. Yeah. So it would have to be kind of the progression of Cena's character.
Yeah. Some sort of Stanicki spinoff or something like that.
Yeah.
No, it's worth checking out. If you're just looking for a funny movie, we do think that Ricky Stanicki's not bad at all. All right, we'll get to more of your comments. Obviously, Oilers and Blues last night. Cass, what was the vibe like last night after that?
People were
after
angry.
The hockey game.
People were angry. People were losing it, like absolutely losing it.
Angry at like the reviews, or I'm angry at the Oilers.
Both.
Okay.
Both. I mean, the reviews. People were really, really angry, and I was upset too. I didn't think the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins goal should have been called back. I thought that was soft, and if you called that one. I think there may have been, based on what Skinner said, what Knobloch said, the one we had a texter, I can't remember who it was. Someone texted in the overhead shot where you can see the stick being spent. Yeah. With the stick. Yeah. So I'm like, you probably had enough there where you could have overturned it. And that's the frustrating thing. Because really with either of those guys, if they happened in separate games, no one would complain about them. Or they might a little bit, but it wouldn't be as big of a deal. It was because you had one that was overturned that was soft in the same game that it made it. But people were generally, there's some people just jumping off the bandwagon like the team is doomed heading into the playoffs after that, which I thought was a little excessive and heavy-handed. I thought they played all right. Penalties absolutely crushed their momentum. That really hurt them. Even if they didn't give up goals against, aside from the one, it just players weren't on the ice. They had no rhythm. They had no momentum, and they do a good job of getting back in the game. But yeah, guys, people were pretty fired up, more fired up than I actually thought they were going to be on the post game.
Huh? Well, it's good. They're passionate. I mean, I thought the Oilers played a pretty good hockey game last night. Like, I didn't think they had 38 shots on goal. Like, you're right about the penalties. But I thought they played like you're not going to win every single game, and it's just you're not going to win every
really
single
well
game.
too.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Binnington did play well.
Yeah, well, he was great. I thought he should have been one of the 3 stars last night.
Absolutely.
But he wasn't. They had Saad as the 2nd star over at NHL.com. Gager, we'll dive into the reviews a little bit because the stick bending thing I do want to address a little bit. But what do you think overall of that game last night?
Kind of a little bit of a missed opportunity. Leon, I didn't like either of his 2 penalties. Like, they're both for sure penalties. I don't know why he thought he could get away with that. And then, McLeod makes a play in overtime that kind of more of a hope play, 3-on-3 in that situation by the boards. You want to make sure it's tape to tape, not just, I understand it because he was trying to bump it back, but then you have Ekholm thinking offense. Look, I got these guys changing. I can kind of jump in the play a little bit here.
Yeah, so I did. See, I pinned that on Ekholm.
You think he should have stayed longer?
I think he should have stayed longer. You're the safety valve.
I know. I know. Again, complete lack of communication. Ekholm should be calling for it, right? Not just McLeod seeing a guy that might be there or something. I think this. But I guess you could put it on both of them, and then like you said, Cass, those 2 goals to have one count and one not. Consistency throughout the game is what you want from your refs, whether it's good or bad. You want it to be consistent, and I think there's a good case to. I thought they both should have been good goals, or if that's the way you're going to call the first one. Like, I don't think it's. I know you see the stick bend, but you can't see that in real time.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I don't want the video review to become freeze the image review, right? Like, that stick in that shot over top. Yes, it was bent, but on the replay, I saw like 3 replays. I was like, I can't see where the interference was. Like, it was so quick. So, and Skinner talked about it after. He said he thought he was interfered with. He said, some guys are getting their sticks in their cast, and I don't know if maybe this is what it was, trying to get a tip. And like incidentally had a stick on the pad. Like, that's probably what it was.
It wasn't on purpose.
Yeah.
It wasn't on purpose.
But like Hyman's wasn't on purpose the other way anyway, right? So
it was a stick and Binnington made a goalie play after it. Like he pushed his own leg out because he looked like he was going to try to dive on the puck.
Yeah, the 5-hole was closed and he opened it up. That's why I thought there might be a case for it. But I guess because Hyman slightly pushed him out of position a little bit. Like,
but you could see Hyman even he was trying to avoid it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
well, again, he barely touched him, and Binnington had ample opportunity. Again, his legs were closed, which is where the puck went, and he opens them, and then it goes through. And it wasn't Hyman that opened them. So I was like, well, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. I don't know. I didn't like it, but Stuart Skinner said this on his post-game interview. You have to roll with it. At the end of the day, you have to roll with it. Like you were still up when Edmonton's 2nd goal was twice disallowed. You were still up 1-0 at that point. Like, you still had control of the game. So maybe you don't love it. Maybe you don't love that St. Louis's 2nd goal was allowed to stand. But at the end of the day, they didn't do enough after that point. No, they scrambled back into it. And they had a pretty good 3rd period. But to me, it was a lost opportunity because they had control of the game and they didn't seize it when they could have.
Gage, did anybody else stand out to you last night, one way or the other?
Well, aside from the miscommunication, then Ekholm was fantastic again.
Yeah.
Stuart Skinner was great, made timely saves once more. It's getting old hat. It's Stuart Skinner's at the point now where you're just expecting that type of goaltending, which I think is great, and it should be. He's an NHL goaltender. I had to watch that McDavid pass to Draisaitl. I love the fact that they dumped the puck in, and with McDavid's speed was able to create the turnover and then be below the goal line and all of a sudden be above it in a split second and catch everyone off guard and give a tap into Leon. and you could see like he was kind of smiling to himself, like he knew that was an unreal play, and and he kind of almost skated all the way to the bench, kind of just like, yeah, that was pretty badass. So that was pretty cool. I thought that put the Blues on their heels, but missed opportunity. I think it could have been 4 points instead of 5 towards the Canucks.
Dolphinus is in over on the Nasty Chat. You can, of course, text us as well. 780-218-9999 says, I could care less if there's more video replay as long as they make the correct call. And that's the problem here, Cass, is I'm not necessarily sure still, even after getting looks myself, where I'm like, I think that's going to be goaltender interference, but it's not. So I have a hard time. It's just tough when we don't necessarily know how to view the correct call, right?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Again, it's consistency is the issue. Like, I have no problem with them not overturning that because you needed to overturn it. Like, the call on the ice was the goal, and that is the big difference between the two of them. Is the first one, the call on the ice was
right away. It was waved off. Yeah, right away.
Right away, it was waved off, and so you have to have enough to overturn it the other way. And on the one for the Oilers, same thing. You had to have enough to overturn it the other way. So your burden of proof, as it were, is more difficult. But the challenging thing is it's still at this point we're like, well, is it or is it not goalie interference? And what is not goalie interference? Like, if a guy gets bumped but he has enough time to adjust and make a save, is that goalie interference? How long before the puck gets shot does it still count towards it? Like, there's things we don't know where everyone watching it is like uncertain of it. And that's the frustrating part. But again, like you can't hang your hat on that as being the reason that the Oilers lost this game in overtime, because it wasn't.
So what was the reason they lost it? Like, what was the reason they lost the game last night?
I'd have to go to the penalties.
Just killing the momentum. Just killing the momentum.
Yeah,
like, so it's bad time penalties.
It was going to be a tough game regardless, Dusty. The Blues came in after losing to the San Jose Sharks, fighting for their playoffs lives. Binnington has shown that he can be successful against the Edmonton Oilers. Like, he's played really well in all those games. Like, probably their best player through the whole regular season series has been Jordan Binnington. So that's one of the reasons why I didn't think they were going to win this game, especially with the past weekend of how the Oilers dominated and going into a game, that a team they should beat, being the favorite, and a hungry team looking to hopefully keep their playoff chances alive. So, the momentum and bad penalties. Leon, he can't take those penalties. That's killer. It kills your team's momentum and gives juice to the opposing team.
A couple of things come out of this game. Obviously, they left a point on the board. Now, they did manage to tie it to get a point last night. Cass, how important do you think first place is? Because they could still certainly track down the Vancouver Canucks. How important is that when you're going to get the Kings or the Preds anyway, even if you finish first?
Yeah. Well, would you want the Kings or the Preds, or do you want the Vegas Golden Knights?
I mean, it kind of depends on who you talk to. Some people think you go get the Golden Knights in the first round before their guys can get up to speed a little bit. Like,
yeah, maybe, but Hurdle probably comes back before the season's done. So he'll be back at it. Or at least Stone would be the last piece of the puzzle that is really the only guy. I mean, I would rather take Nashville or LA than Vegas in the first. Now maybe you're right. Maybe the momentum thing, but I don't know. It's not overly important. At the end of the day, there's going to be some really good teams in the West, and you're going to have to beat really good teams. So does it matter if you're playing them in the first round or the second round or the third round? I don't think it really does. It's like you're going to have to beat 3 good teams to get to the Stanley Cup final. So, ideally for me, probably the Los Angeles Kings right now. But I don't know. I'm not. Would it be important? Well, sure. Of course, it's important. You secure that home ice advantage for as long as you can. You have the momentum. Then you battled back from a terrible start to the season to be really, since that point, the best team in the NHL from a record standpoint. I believe they probably would be if they do make it all the way back to first. So you have all kinds of things going for you if you do. Is it the be-all, end-all, though? No.
Gage, what do you think?
I don't mind facing the Golden Knights first because I think the Oilers do well in that underdog role a little bit more, in my opinion, anyways. And I realize that Hurdle could be back, but he's got to get back up to a team back up to speed to a team that's, consistently winning. This guy's used to losing every game too, and chemistry with new players. It's going to be an adjustment. Look at Adam Henrique. It's taken him a few games to get up to speed with the Oilers. Now we see even, dare I say, a little bit of chemistry with Leon Draisaitl to a point. So, and they've played a ton of hockey. So I think the Golden Knights are kind of ripe. It's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that sets them up. If the Oilers do play the Golden Knights and defeat them in the first round, sets them up nicely moving forward and hopefully getting all the way to the finals.
Cass, after that trip out to Ontario, you're like, what was this about? They come back, they put together some nice wins. This one against St. Louis didn't go their way last night, but overall, I mean, that game's not the end of the world against a desperate St. Louis Blues team and Binnington, who played extremely well. Do you view the Oilers playoff ready? And if not, why not? Like, what would you think over the next 3 weeks they're still trying to get prepared for the postseason?
I think they are ready. I think they're playoff ready right now, guys. I look at their record; they've been playing really well, and I know the Ontario trip was a blip. They didn't play great on that trip. Wasn't a good set, but overall, if you look at their body of work the last month and a half, they've been really good. They've been really good. So I don't know. I look at the group and I go, yeah, I think this group is almost as playoff ready as you can be. Now, if they can build more momentum, even if they can catch Vancouver, and let's say if they go over 500 against the big teams they have left. So yeah. Colorado, Vancouver, and
they get Dallas tomorrow.
Dallas tomorrow. You got Colorado twice, and you got Vancouver. So you have 4 really good teams that you're playing. Like if you can go 3-1 in those games, I would absolutely be like, yep, this team is ready to go.
Yeah, I agree with you, Cass. I think they're too mature. They've shown a maturity level that that's consistent with their age now. I think they're ready too. These last, it would be nice, I guess, to finish first, but they have their eye on the prize. I think right now with these last, they're not that they're completely taking their foot off the gas because there is something still to play for, but I think it's a team that's looking ahead to who do we get to sink our teeth into first in that first round.
I just looking at the sked here. It'll be funny because a lot of are they championship ready or not will come down to these games against Dallas and Colorado this week. It's just Dallas and Colorado because nothing against the Calgary Flames, Battle of Alberta. It's always a big thing, but the others either play really good teams or duds the rest of the way. Like they get Dallas, Colorado, they get Calgary, they get Vegas, then they get the Coyotes. They suck. They get the Canucks. Then they go Sharks, Coyotes again, and then they get the Avs. So, there's some games where they should pump these teams, and then the other ones are all just straight-up heavyweight Stanley Cup contenders. So, there's no more Minnesotas and St. Louis's along the way here. So, it'll be, I'm very intrigued to see where they come out on that one. And a follow-up on a conversation we were having earlier today that we didn't plan on, but it just sort of popped up because Matthias Ekholm has just been so damn good since they got him here. And Gage, we threw this your way earlier today, so let's start with Cass on this one. Cass, outside, so Connor McDavid is the most important player on the Edmonton Oilers. Who's the second most important player on the Edmonton Oilers right now?
The second most important player on the Edmonton Oilers, Matthias Ekholm.
It's unanimous. Gager was on Ekholm earlier. I was on Ekholm this morning as well. And it's a pro Ekholm thing. It's not like an anti-Draisaitl or an anti-Hyman or an anti-Skinner.
No.
It's just Ekholm is that important, man. He just is.
For what he does for Evan Bouchard, for what he does to solidify that core, the consistency in his game, it didn't take me that long to think about that. No, I mean, I'm sticking with it. Ekholm is the second most important player on the team. Now, he's not the second best player on the team, but second most important player. Yeah, I think so right now.
Oh, yeah. Because if you look at it, if you take – well, let's take 3 players, right, and say if they're out of the lineup. So if you take Draisaitl, Ekholm, and Hyman, we'll say, who do the Oilers miss most if one of those guys is out of the lineup for a game? I think it's Ekholm.
It's Ekholm.
You put Skinner in there too, because you can, I'd put Skinner in there. The guys can
Skinner
rally around
right
it
there too. Yeah.
And Pickard's shown that he can play quite well. So it's Ekholm for sure.
Coach Mike is in on the inbox at 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999. Do you guys think they go back to Skinner on Wednesday? Pickard beat Dallas earlier this season. Gager, you kind of thought he might start. You got the doubles. You got Skinner on Friday and Pickard. Well, I don't know. Colorado, Calgary. What do you do here, Gager? How do you manage it?
No, I think you can flip them here. Pickard was great in the last game. He's played against Dallas well before. I think it's a good chance. Let Skinner get ready for that big game against the Avalanche again on Friday. That's how I'd go.
And then just roll Pickard in the Battle of Alberta. I mean, it's a Battle of Alberta, but there's not a ton there.
Calgary's playing good too, man. I watched that. They spanked the Kings. That Mackenzie Weegar is turning into one hell of a. He was a good player before, but he makes that team a lot better.
I'm going Skinner Wednesday, Skinner Friday. Give Pickard the Battle of Alberta. I want Skinner playing all those big games against those playoff teams.
Would you just split it that way, Cass? Would you just play Skinner against the playoff teams the rest of the way and Pickard against the non-playoff teams? Because that would be, it would be almost an even split. Calgary, Arizona, 4 games against the non-playoff teams and 5 games against contenders. So it'd be a 4-5 split the rest of the way. That's what you would do?
Probably. Yeah. Let me just pull it up here because
you could do it. When I was looking let me just see the back. Let me just check.
Pickard's playing one of the back-to-backs.
Yeah,
every back-to-back he's playing.
Well, but the back-to-backs are Colorado, Calgary, so you can split those, give Pickard Calgary, and then Arizona, Vancouver, so you can give him Arizona, and then have Skinner play Vancouver on the 12th and 13th.
Yeah, you're probably playing Skinner against San Jose too. This is in my mind. This is how I do it: is you have Skinner against Dallas, Skinner against Colorado, Pickard against Calgary, which gives Skinner 4 days, and then you play Skinner against Vegas, Pickard against Arizona, Skinner against Vancouver, Skinner against San Jose, Pickard against Arizona, and Skinner finishes against Colorado at the end. You give that way, you do get some little bit of gaps of a few days for Skinner through it. You're not overworking them. What does that end up being? So that ends up being 3, 4.
That would be 3 and 6.
Pickard,
that'd be 3 and 6.
3 and 6. Yeah, which I think is fine. I don't think you need to go to the full, 5 and 4. But part of it depends too on how close you are to catching Vancouver. Right, when you look at that San Jose game, if you beat Vancouver and let's say you win enough where you're in striking distance, you're probably going to start Skinner against San Jose. Now, if you're out of it, winning the Pacific, maybe you start Pickard that one. But I think he goes 6 and 3 here, guys.
Gager, what would you do?
Yeah, maybe. Well, if you're chasing Vancouver, right? Maybe you do play Skinner tomorrow night against Dallas. Give you your best chance of winning. If you lose that game though, and kind of puts it out of reach even more, maybe does he play Friday too? I don't know. That throws a wrench into the whole plan if you're kind of chasing and giving your team the best chance to win. But no, I still learn to lean towards Pickard against Dallas tomorrow night. I'd like to see that. And then Skinner against Colorado.
Let's just stick with the goaltending here for a second because Skinner was really good down the stretch last year. And then we saw in the playoffs, he wasn't. He's been great since the coaching change in late November. He's done outstanding. Gager, what's the play on a goalie second time around with the National Hockey League playoffs, do you think? Like, would you look at Skinner and go, well, look what Skinner's done this year. That's the Skinner we're going to get in the playoffs. Or do you look at it and go, well, you see the Skinner in last year's playoffs? I'm worried about getting him in this year's playoffs. So how do you weigh that? How do you weigh that conversation?
And in Skinner's case, it's two completely different scenarios, I think, from last year where he was essentially the number 2 guy, took over as number 1, became an all-star, just a dream season, essentially. But really, I know he thought about the playoffs and things, but he kind of accomplished I think he accomplished most of his goals and just didn't really have that vision board of the Stanley Cup as well. And I think he got overwhelmed with it. This year, coming in, still kind of that battling for the number 1 spot. And then as soon as Jack Campbell left, he really embraced the number 1 role, I thought. But this year's a little bit different. I think, this is a guy that was a number 1 for the better part of the year previous. So that wasn't new to him. The eye is more on the prize this year than anything else for Stuart Skinner. It wasn't, an all-star performance or being nominated, being nominated for the Calder. This is more, I think the team as a whole is more oriented over game 83. That's where they're looking. I think Stuart Skinner is more prepared for a longer playoff run. He's done it at other levels. It's not like this is his first thing in the playoffs. I know it didn't go well last year, but this is a completely different Stuart Skinner. I wouldn't put anything in what happened last year compared to what he's capable of doing this year.
Kaz, what would your confidence level be at in Skinner for the playoffs? 1 out of 10.
Right now, I'm like at 8.5.
That's nice. That's a B plus.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident.
That's a B plus. Yeah.
It's a B plus, maybe an A minus. I'm confident in him. Why? I don't think he has given you any reason to not be confident in him.
He really hasn't. You're just looking at what he's done for the last 3-4 months, man, Stuart Skinner has been like last night's hockey game. I thought he was excellent. last night. Like, he made a lot of really good saves in last night's game.
Can you guys remember a bad goal he's let in the last 10 games?
Nope.
Like a real
I'm sure
stinker.
somebody will point something out, but I don't think off the top of my head, like, I'm trying to think. But the fact
Tommy
that you're
didn't
right,
the one the guy kind of whiffed and it went under his pad, I think.
But I didn't think that was bad because he whiffed because a defenseman got his stick. It was
wasn't that JJ Paterka against Buffalo? Was that the Buffalo game?
Yeah.
But I mean, it changes direction because you were anticipating it not going there, and it's in pretty tight. So I know Tommy didn't like it. I didn't think it was that horrible.
Yeah. Tommy's in my bad books now with Ricky Stanicki anyway, and he doesn't know anything.
What a wild take on Ricky Stanicki from Tommy Gazzola.
Yeah,
like, have a laugh, man.
Tommy's with that reasoning of that's a bad goal. Tommy, so every changeup a pitcher throws in baseball should be a dinger. So whatever.
You're going to sit on it, right? B-Mother Reviews over in the Nasty Chat. Good question. You can text us anytime. Let's get that inbox hopping here as well. 780-218-9999. If you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or EdmontonSportsTalk.com and you're like, oh, I'd like to chime in on this. Oh, but I'm a little nervous or whatever. That doesn't matter. Fire him over. Tommy Gazzola's got the bad Ricky Stanicki take. We're taking him for a little bit of a run, but he's still a buddy. B-Mother Review says, guys, is Skinner's play the biggest positive difference between this year and last year's team? Interesting question. Cass, you want to start on this one?
Yeah, I'll say no. The biggest difference between this year's team and last year's team is their ability to win low-scoring games and their ability to win one-goal games. I think that's the biggest difference. Now, Skinner's a part of that. It may be a significant part of it. But to me, that's the biggest difference. This is a team that has played a much more mature style of game where it's not just shootout all the time. And not that it was just shootout in the playoffs, but I think they just the way they have played bodes better for their ability to execute in the playoffs than it did last year. And again, Skinner is a part of that, but I don't think he's the sole reason.
Gage, what do you think?
Cass and I are hanging out too much because we're thinking alike. This isn't good.
This is horrible.
This sucks. No, I was thinking the exact same thing. Crap. No, well, if I'll take it to a little bit lesser extent. I think one of the nice things, although it's kind of is the power play hasn't been as successful, but I think at certain parts of the year the PK has really bailed this team out. That's the biggest thing of this year. The focus, again, it's kind of a focus on defense and getting to those low scoring games, but the penalty kill has been able to be really significant in those tight games where they're able to kill those penalties.
Jimbo's in the Nasty Chat says Skinner and Pickard is like a warm sweater compared to Talbot / Koskinen. So now Talbot finished top 5 in Vezina voting one year. So
yeah,
I don't know if I'd put Talbot into that conversation. And over on the we were talking about the second most important player. Coach Mike says it's sad that Nurse is an afterthought in this conversation, and I think it's just like so. Let's just play on this here for a second. Top 5 most important pieces on the Oilers. We had McDavid at 1. We had unanimous Ekholm at 2. Is it Draisaitl or Stuart Skinner in the 3-4 spots? I think they're both the next 2 guys. But Cass, is Draisaitl more important to this team than Stuart Skinner is right now? Classic mute scenario.
Was a classic mute scenario.
Okay. Come on, man.
It's Skinner.
Yeah.
Which is still hard. I mean, it's harder to say between the two. I think I got to put a little bit more brain power into that than the Ekholm being second. But I have Draisaitl 4th. I think it's pretty close. But think about it. Like, if Draisaitl isn't great, do they still have a chance of winning a series? Or if Draisaitl isn't good, I'm even going to reduce it from great to good. If Draisaitl isn't good, do they still have?
I think
a
they
chance
could still
to
win a series. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And if Skinner isn't good, do they win a series?
I think they could still win a series, but it's less likely. Yeah.
But less likely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then number 5, Zach Hyman,
weird.
or is it Darnell Nurse? Is it Nuge? What do you think would be the 5th most?
It's Hyman.
Darnell.
It's Hyman.
You got Darnell Nurse there, hey, Cass?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can make a really good case, nothing against Hyman, but you can make a good case for Nurse because Nurse is going to have to be excellent depending on how the guy to his right, whoever it is playing. Right? Like Darnell Nurse has to carry that pair, whoever it is. Not that Ekholm at 5-on-5 doesn't legitimately help his partner either, but yeah, I think Nurse is somewhere in that conversation in the 5-6-7 group there with everybody else. Coach Mike, I think the whole conversation that started on the morning show that it just goes to show they've got a lot of significant pieces, right? This is not just McDavid. Like Leon Draisaitl could win a playoff series on his own, and we've got him number 4 on guys who are most important to this team right now. So, it's he's going to be as Chris says, he's a 100-point guy, 40 goals this year. Yeah, he's a phenomenal player. I think if it's a 1-1 series and they lose Draisaitl for games 3 and 4, I still like their chances better than if they lose Ekholm for games 3 and 4 of a series. So I think that's probably the difference on that part of it. You can ask your questions anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. I do see Roger and some other people talking about Vegas if they do get this first-round matchup. Gage, you kind of brought it up. Hurdle has to get to speed. Like, if Stone's not there, if Stone can't go until round 2, but they do get Thomas Hurdle back.
He's going. Well, give me a break.
Well, if he doesn't, or even if he does, I'll just say I don't think the Edmonton Oilers need to be scared of Thomas Hurdle returning to the Vegas goal, joining the Golden Knights lineup. I don't know. Maybe it comes back to bite me in the ass, and they play a best of 7, and Hurdle has 14 points, and he's the best player on the team. But I just don't see it. Like, I don't think you need to be concerned about mid to late career Thomas Hurdle for the Edmonton Oilers. Like, the Edmonton Oilers, a Stanley Cup should not be stopped by Thomas Hurdle joining the Vegas Golden Knights. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I wouldn't be overly concerned about Hurdle being like the biggest needle mover in that type of series. But
no,
here's the thing, though. This is the thing. It's the cumulative effects. It's not just Hurdle by himself. It's Hurdle and Stone comes in. Right now Vegas's top 6 is Barbashev, Eichel, Marchessault, Cotter, Stevenson, Amadio. Then their third is Dorofeev, Carlson, and Manta. Like, And their fourth is a really good fourth in Brett Howden, Nicholas Roy, and Keegan Colasar. Like, there is already a ton of depth there. You drop in Hurdle and Stone into that. Like, yeah, maybe Hurdle doesn't move the needle on your first line, but Hurdle on the third line.
Well, Vander Kane could just beat his ass, I guess. It's
maybe
do something along those lines. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not saying you're scared. I'm not saying you're scared of it, Dusty. But like, look at that depth compared to like a Vegas or Nashville. Nashville's got one line, as Sean Bell astutely pointed out on Hello Hockey on Saturday. They got one line, and if you shut down that one line in Nashville, you shut down that team. Vegas has got threats up and down that lineup, especially with Hurdle and Stone stepping back into the mix. So I don't think you're not afraid or scared of them, but LA and Nashville are just the easier matchups.
I'm more scared of their D.
Okay, Gagers, just stop right there for 1 second, because I was going to ask you guys this, because this came up. This was asked of us, I think, yesterday on the morning show. Which element of which team, whether it's a goalie, the blue line, maybe it's a forward group, which element of which team in the West do you think is the biggest hurdle for the Oilers to overcome to go to a Stanley Cup final? Gagers at Vegas' blue line? Is that where you're going?
Yeah. It's, Hanifin, Haig, Pietrangelo, Martinez, McNabb, and Theodore. Come on. That's
a really good blue line. That's a really
good blue line. And they're not only that, they're big, and they lean on you. It's just, and they can still produce a lot of offense from the back end, right? So they're it's scary that Vegas Knights, and even without Stone and Hurdle, a few of those D-men, we were talking about how Ekholm covers, if someone's out of the lineup, that's what some of those guys can do, and having Theodore or Hanifin and Pietrangelo, one of them is going to be on the ice for at least 30 minutes. Like, what, they're going to be out there the whole game, so it's going to be tough. Very difficult to break through that defensive core.
This is a message in the nasty chat. Northside Sandwich says, I'd go with Colorado's speed. Now, Edmonton's a pretty quick team, too. They got, yeah. I narrowed it down to Colorado's blue line with Cale Makar and some of the pieces they got there, Manson and some of those guys, Taves. Like, that's a really good. I said I'm torn on whether it's Colorado's blue line or Vegas's blue line that I'd view as the biggest hurdle for the Oilers to overcome, both of which I think they still possibly can. I'm not saying they're like immovable objects, but Cass, what would you single out here in the West?
My phone was ringing, so I missed the start of the question.
I was going to say, when your phone's ringing, you got to throw that mic on mute, Cass. My God, it's.
I was trying. It was too much.
No, I was saying which element from which team? Positional element. If it's a goalie, it's a goalie. If it's a blue line group, it's a blue line group. Which one do you think is the biggest hurdle for the Oil to get to the Cup?
Oh, man, I hate this because Gager.
We're
going to be agreeing with you again. We're hanging out. Well, see, it's a toss-up for me. I'm gonna stick. Actually, I'll do it just to be different. I'll stick with that defense pairing from Vegas, and you combine that with the depth they have at forwards, where they have tremendous forward.
You can't combine it. It's got to be one element of the team, Cass. You're just saying all of Vegas.
Okay, defense.
Okay,
Defense. The defense of Vegas. There we go. The defense of Vegas with the Hanifin ad, like where they're just a ton of defensive depth.
All right. Well, Jimbo says, is Vegas's defense scarier than Edmonton's offense? Unlikely. That's what Jimbo says. Where you guys come out on that little comparison?
Well, that's the matchup then, isn't it?
That is,
right?
Yeah.
Like that's the story. If that ends up being the series, is which is scarier?
If the Oilers forwards can break down that defense, that's impressive. It's unfortunate you don't win something just for doing that. And then you got Aiden Hill too, right? He's he's got the luxury of those guys playing in front of him for sure. The one thing about speed, though, I thought the whole trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois actually made the Kings slower, because they looked like little water bugs last year in the playoffs. I thought they gave they gave trouble to the Oilers at times, but they look slower this year. So even though Colorado does play fast and can cause issues, I don't fear that as much as those D-men in Vegas.
780-218-9999 or in the nasty chat. Guys, for me, it's Vegas overall depth and then Colorado's top end, McKinnon and Makar, that would scare me the most. That one over on the nasty chat on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, hammer that thumbs up for us. That would be great. Tell your friends about what we're doing here at EST and tell them that we are giving away a trip to Vegas. Got the keyword for you right now, 4 times per day, right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Your chance to win a trip to Vegas. 2 nonstop flights, 3 nights accommodations, tickets for a Cirque show as well. Presented by Fly YEG and the LVCVA. Nonstop flights over 50 destinations. Your sports trip starts with a nonstop flight from Fly YEG. All you have to do is text in the keyword here today. And the keyword, this might be the longest keyword that we've had so far. Oh, did we have Cosmopolitan? That's true, Zacticum. All right, good memory on the words. Conventions. Today's keyword is conventions. 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 And I feel like if you're when we were down there Super Bowl week, there was like a Lowe's convention that had pretty much taken over Vegas. It was insane. And then there was another convention that was at... wasn't at our hotel, but it was another hotel we went to a couple times, and there must have been thousands and thousands and thousands of people wearing these red shirts and these lanyards. Cass, I feel like as a company, you're doing pretty good if you're having the Vegas convention, right? Like you have to be in a pretty good spot if you're bringing thousands of people to Vegas for a convention when you can Zoom it or you could do it in Calgary, Edmonton or something.
Well, you know what? There's still something about getting together as people. That's the reason people still go to hockey games and sporting events and different things. Like, it's just better. And so for a convention, it's the same thing. Yeah, you could do it via webcam and do it without any pants, but you could do it without any pants in Vegas too. So
it's one of the funnier things you said, Cass. That was a good one. I like that. Conventions is CONVENTIONS. Text conventions right now to 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, and one of you will go into the draw here. We'll call a qualifier in about 6-7 minutes. Boys, I want to get to a couple other things around the National Hockey League. Austin Matthews, chase to 70, continues. Had 2 more last night. It's certainly something that could happen. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of a push for him from his Toronto teammates to possibly get there. Again, like we saw, they were feeding Hyman pretty good here to get to 50. Only 8 players in NHL history have scored 70 goals. Can you name the 8 guys together, the 2 of you? Work through this. Who are the 8 guys who have scored 70? A few of them have done it multiple times.
Gretzky.
Yep.
Yep.
Hull.
Yep.
Skalani.
Yep.
Lemieux.
Yep.
Stastny. No.
Wait, Gretzky, Solani, Lemieux, Hall.
Bure.
No.
69.
He hit 60 a couple of times.
Oh, did Bossy hit 70?
No, Bossy was like a steady diet of 50s and 60 wins. But Mogilny, he did it the same year as Solani. Remember, they buried 76.
Yeah.
So there's 3 more guys that have scored 70, a club that Matthews is trying to join.
Jeez.
One of them was before Wayne Gretzky's time, the first guy to do it.
Esposito,
Gager, you got that. Another guy, actually the other 2 guys, let me just see here. Hang on one sec. I'm pretty sure the other 2 guys on this list, let me just double check. The other 2 guys on this list both scored 70 while playing with Wayne Gretzky.
Did Curry have 70?
Curry had 70. The other one is when the...
Sandstrom?
No, I don't know if you'll get it. I'll give you a hint if you remember our show back in the day, the old one at 1260. And he came on our show one time in the morning and said that it was easier to score goals in like 2014 in the National Hockey League than it was in the 80s. It was an all-time wild take. Bernie Nichols.
Bernie Nichols
Bernie Nichols had 70 the year he got to play with Wayne in LA. 70 goals, 150
That's
points. Those are the only guys to do it. That's the group that Austin Matthews is looking to join. Wayne Gretzky, Brett Hull, Mario Lemieux, Esposito, Curry, Mogilny, Solani, and Bernie Nichols. So pretty elite group. And you think he does it, Cass? You think he gets there?
I mean, it's Austin Matthews in the Toronto Maple Leafs, so of course
he's going to get there. Yeah. Even if he doesn't, we'll always remember that he did, even though he didn't.
Yeah.
There'll be something he gets a 68, and they're like, well, there was 2 that were called back. It's as good as a 70-goal season. It's going to count. It's going to have to count. What's more impressive?
The NHL will retroactively go back.
What's more impressive, scoring 70 or setting up 100?
They're both pretty darn impressive. I'm going to go with scoring 70, probably.
Yeah, there's no. Yeah, they have the secondary assists. I'd have to see. I think most of McDavid's assists are primaries anyway.
But you still have the secondary.
Yeah, scoring 70 would be the answer.
I think it's more a conversation of 50 and 100. That's 70. I'd give it to 70. That's.
Yeah, but how many guys have got the 100 assists? You got to be a man on a mission to pull that off.
No, how many guys have? Like 5?
Well, I think Wayne did it a bunch of times. Let me see here. Hang on.
Wayne did it 11 times or something like that. Lemieux did it.
Let's see here.
LaFontaine did.
Bobby Orr, Wayne Gretzky 11 times, and Mario Lemieux. That's it.
Oh, that's it.
So it's a small list. I'm trying to see here who else.
And he chiseled about 25 of those too.
You can't chisel assists now like you used to be able to.
Oh God, yeah, that was great back in the day. Guys would fly by the ref's box and just like subliminally whisper 26, 26, 26, 26.
Get it right up there. Do you guys see this giant in net in Philly that they brought over from the KHL?
I haven't watched him play.
He got in last night, kind of thrown to the wolves there by Torts after the start that the team had. But Gager, what do you make of this 6'8" Russian, and how different is the game, especially mid-season, coming from over there to just being thrown into a playoff race right now with the Philadelphia Flyers?
That's really hard because they're on the big ice, right? There's a lot more time in Russia and in some of those leagues now. You're coming to where everything happens so quick. But I mean, geez, his first save was a breakaway with who was it? Barzell, right? So we stopped that. That's got to feel good. But he is just a monster, just a huge, huge man. I don't know. There's always been, unfortunately, it seemed like Philadelphia had finally figured out their goaltending situation. And unfortunately, the Carter Hart's probably not going to be in the NHL anymore. Hopefully, this guy can solidify that role. But yeah, I don't know. He's big, but it doesn't always mean it's better. And we'll see how this guy pans out.
D. White over in the Nasty Chat says, guys, Edmonton is 4th in the league in goals for and 7th in goals against. Colorado and Vegas should be afraid of the Oilers. Yeah, we're not saying they're not. I mean, I'm sure these other markets are like, damn, I don't have to play McDavid and Draisaitl, and look at what they're doing defensively with Ekholm there. And Skinner's having a real good stretch here over the last 3 to 4 months. So anytime we look at this, I mean, we're looking at the opposition. It'd be pretty lame if every day we came on and said, well, everybody's scared of the Oilers, so the Oilers don't have to be concerned about anyone else. I mean, that's just not good content. So yeah, that's a different way to look at it for sure. Gager, before we let you go, what's the feel against Dallas? Because we're not going to talk to you tomorrow. So what's the Ouija board saying?
Well, I think the Oilers are going to win this one. This is a team that I'm sure maybe they don't talk about it, but in the back of your minds, you're thinking, you know what, this could be a Western Conference final. Like, it's not out of the stretch of the imagination here. Established winning in that rink and the history between the two teams, right? So, but I think the Oilers come out of this with the victory.
Cass, I don't want your prediction for the game. I want you to watch Ricky Stanicki tomorrow night instead, and then talk about what is on Thursday. Right?
I don't know if I'll have time, but I'll try.
You'll get to it at some point. All right, boys, you have a good day. We're going to call a qualifier here for the EST Flyway to Vegas, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
There we go. That's Joaquin Gage and Matt Kassian here on Two Guys and a Goalie. Zach will get our qualifier teed up here. Jimbo says every team is pissing their pants at the prospect of playing Edmonton this year. I do wonder. I wonder, the only team that has eliminated them the last 2 years was the eventual Stanley Cup champion. So are other teams going like, man, in order to win it all, you probably have to knock off the Oil? Like, is that the team? They've been the best team in the league for 4 months. Are teams pissing their pants at the idea of playing Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and 50-goal man Zach Hyman and guy who could possibly get 20 Warren Fogle and guy who is certainly due to do something in Evander Kane and guy who will punch you in the face in Sam Carrick and a beast of a man on the back end in Ekholm, one of the best offensive defensemen in the National Hockey League in Bouchard. Darnell Nurse, who is... Nurse is a good defenseman. He's a really good defenseman. I know he makes... I get it. I mean, I saw the messages today about it. You're right. Should he be making that much more than Ekholm? Probably not, but he is. But Darnell Nurse does some very good things as well. And then you got Stuart Skinner. I don't know if I'd say pissing their pants, but I think they'd rather play every other team in the Pacific. Like if you're Vegas, you'd rather play Vancouver. If you're Vancouver, I think you'd probably rather play Vegas. Maybe I'm wrong. 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999 if you want to chime in on that. Hey, give us a thumbs up here on Two Guys and a Goalie before you scoot away for the day. If you're watching later on when it's archived, we would appreciate that. Tell your friends about what we're doing here at EST. And what we are doing is we are giving away a trip to Vegas. We're going to grab another qualifier right now to wrap up the day. A Nielsen Show replay coming up here on the afternoons on TuneIn and iHeart. Zacticum, who do we have qualifying?
We got James qualifying here.
All right, let's go to James. Let's bring in James. James, congratulations, man. It's your lucky day.
Thanks very much, sir.
Yeah, James, have you been to Vegas? Have you done the whole Vegas thing?
I went once for a birthday and had never gone before, and I wasn't ever planning to go again, but this sounds like the right time to do it.
Free is usually the right time. How long ago did you go for the birthday?
2013.
Okay, so 10, 11 years, that's a good time. Like Vegas would have changed enough that you can go check it out. Have a good time. Who'd you bring with you on the trip?
I'll take my wife.
All right.
I think she'd kill me if I didn't.
Husband-wife trip. That'll be a lot of fun. All right, man. Well, you're one step closer. We're going to do the grand prize draw near the end of April, and you got a pretty good shot at it.
Thanks very much.
Okay, have a good day, man. Appreciate it.
You too. Bye.
All right, there you go. Edmonton Sports Talk giving you a chance, teaming up with the great crew down at the airport, Fly YEG. They are absolutely wonderful people to work with through this entire thing. And another chance, 4 more chances to qualify tomorrow, Wednesday, getting you set for the Oilers and the Dallas Stars right here on EST. For Cass and Gager, I am Dustin Nielson. Have a great day, and talk to you tomorrow morning.